The Failing Writers podcast will commence in exactly 13 seconds from... Wait for it. Waiting. Now.
Hey, do you know what we should do? I know this is a very, very exciting episode, but before we begin, we should announce the big news. The big news.
Big news.
What is the big news?
What big news are you saying?
Yes,
Well,
John, we are saying what big
Perhaps
news.
I can provide...
Why use two bigs? How big can it be?
It's bigger than big.
Big.
Perhaps I can provide more clarity by asking Dave a question. Dave,
Yeah.
have you been writing anything?
That big news. Yes, I have. I have written a book, John. I have finished writing a book. The book I've been working on for about 3 years. I finally finished it. Yeah.
So was that a total rewrite? Because that seemed to happen very quickly.
It did, I thought that.
Yeah, it wasn't a total rewrite, but sort of everything around it sort of got rewritten. But everything happened really quickly with it. You know, like when sometimes you have an idea that just works so well.
When it just clicks in.
Yeah, it just... so I
that's nice,
all the
man.
new bits came out really quickly, and then it was just a case of going through the existing stuff and making little tweaks here and there so that it fitted. But it just it rattled off.
I think that's a
And
good sign.
you've been very brave as well, haven't you, Dave? Because you've sent it through to me and John to read.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So when I say finished, it depends entirely on what you come back and say.
I have to say, I'd love to say it's shit, Dave, but it's not. I'm really enjoying it. And then I was reading, and you know what I'm like for reading. I don't read anything. And I was reading it the other day, and I was enjoying it so much that I got to the point of going, oh shit, Dave probably want me to think about this so I can say, oh, maybe this. I was completely just in the...
Oh, that's
in
good.
it.
No, just read it.
You're not getting any feedback, Dave, other than I'll finish it and you either go, that was all right, or yeah, it's all right.
Yeah.
That's all you're going to get, I'm afraid.
So that'll do me.
That is about
That's
the best
fine.
compliment that you could have, isn't it, Birdie? Is Tom actually reading it
I
actively
thought,
and not complaining about it either?
No, I genuinely enjoy it, like trying to find time to read it. I'm probably a third of the way through it.
Bloomin' heck.
Wow.
That's good, isn't it?
That is good.
That is...
So I'm not looking forward to the bits. I'm obviously reading the bits that your dad's written at the minute. But when I get to
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to the second half, to be honest.
Suddenly, this is really jarring,
Yeah,
this
it's
chapter.
weird. Why is it written in crayon and not typed out like the other bit?
Oh, well done,
No,
Bird.
it's brilliant, that, Dave.
Little
Brilliant.
bit
Brilliant.
jealous,
Oh,
but
well,
also...
thanks,
I have to say,
thanks,
reading
guys.
through it, I can't see any reason why that wouldn't get sent somewhere and get accepted. Do you mean like why it's not more or less than anything else? I think it's got a real quality to it.
Well, at least I can start the process of working out what the hell to do with it now.
Yeah, definitely.
Off the back of all that, having just finished something, we should also point out that as this goes live, NaNoWriMo starts tomorrow. So are we...
idle hands and all that.
Are we ready for that? Are we all ready to begin
not
writing our
quite.
next books?
Nearly.
I'm not really
Really?
ready, but I might be by the time.
I'm aware that I need to be ready. if that's
It's nearly a week, isn't it? I mean, you almost got a week, so that's sounds like quite a decent amount of time to get ready.
Well,
The thing is, we've got so much going on, and it's such good fun. Like, so next week we wrote some poetry, didn't we? A bit back. We've got Kate coming on next week to rip us to shreds on that
Yep.
one. any ego you've got there, writing ego, Dave, from finishing your book, we'll sort that out next week.
pull that to shreds. What else have we got after that? We've got...
Tim Glister, brand new author, debut author, and he's doing like a spy thriller, isn't it? Which is
that's right.
Is good. So we've had a chat with him, and then we can't talk about everything because some stuff's still to be confirmed, but. I don't know. We might have a BAFTA award-winning screenwriter coming up. We might do.
BAFTA?
Possibly.
A BAFTA?
Possibly.
Yep.
Wow.
So, So if ever there was a time to subscribe, probably about 5 or 6 weeks ago when we started doing some good stuff. But the second best, that's what they say, isn't it? The best time to plant a tree was 30 years ago. The second best time is now. Same with subscription to a podcast.
I mean,
now.
the second best time was probably 29 years ago, and then...
Yeah.
Every year
there's
since
a lot.
then.
There's a lot of
The 30th best time to plant a tree
time.
is today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've ruined that ancient Chinese proverb that's been knocking around for like 3,000 years, Dave. And no one's really. But you've
made it a lot longer, Dave.
Yeah.
And a lot less interesting. But you know,
that's all for the future.
That is for the
future's
future.
all well and good. But what about the here and now?
The immediate future. I am genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying to John before we went on. I am generally like a bit giddy about this.
Yes.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It is extremely exciting. We've had entries literally from all over the world, haven't we? Which is
and a lot of them as well.
Yeah.
Yes. So, very, very briefly, USA, Canada, Australia, Romania, Finland, Spain, Poland, India, Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa, Germany, Sweden, the Netherlands, Denmark, France, Singapore, Norway, and Wales. We've had entries from.
Wow.
That's a lot of countries.
That's a lot of countries, isn't it?
It's worked out pretty well, hasn't it?
No, it's brilliant. And some of the stuff coming in has just been absolute rubbish, hasn't it? Some of them. So I made a list of the ones that didn't make it that were rubbish, because I think these people need to get some honest feedback.
Let's read them out now.
There was Janice Bartholomew from Stevenage.
Janice, honestly.
Yours was terrible.
That was
a horse going to the cinema, that isn't scary in itself.
Yeah.
If anything, it's quite funny. So that was rubbish. Libby Boswell, we had you. That was just the plot to The Shining. That's a bit shit. That's just cheating, isn't
Doesn't
it?
count. Yeah.
Chester Lankwasser. We asked people to email their entries in, not post them. And the fact you wrote it in blood, that was like, I know it's Halloween, but that was not cool. Lots of health and safety
Taking it
problems.
too far, isn't it?
Yeah, there was some pretty. No, they weren't. I'm kidding. Obviously, they were very good. They were pretty much on the whole 100% good.
No, they were great.
To the point, it was really, really hard work.
It's incredibly hard, wasn't it?
I thought we just kind of breeze through them and go, yeah, that's rubbish.
Yeah,
that one's good. That one's rubbish.
Easier.
But it was like properly.
Did you find as time went on and you were reading through them that your sort of filter kind of adjusted upwards as you got more entries? Like the standard of some of them were so good. Then some that I'd sort of earmarked from earlier on, I was like,
yeah, no, that's true actually.
When I don't know about that one now. I mean, that one's
and then
really,
you find yourself
really good.
circling back, don't you? You kind of circle
and you
back.
do actually have
and
to
go,
ended up.
Oh, that was good.
Yeah, ended up rereading them all again, and then rereading them all again just in case I was wrong. But yeah.
But
nice.
and then the fact that we all kind of shortlisted, there was like a few that kind of went on each.
There was some crossover, wasn't there?
A little bit, but there was also some different ones and the ones that kind of made my long list that I then changed into my short. Do you know what I mean? So there's obviously something in it, but it's just how certain stories chime with different. And it did make me think about, when we've talked about judging beforehand. The part of it is just that individual thing as well, isn't it? That subjectiveness.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
there were some that almost made my shortlist just because they were so like mad creative. And just different and interesting.
And there was a couple where you felt like a really sort of frustrated teacher almost.
Yeah.
Where you thought, God, if you'd just left those last 3 lines off, you didn't need to do that. You could have left it and it would have just been, ooh. But you've...
It's actually it's a lovely thing to do, isn't it? To judge a competition.
Sit in judgment of other people is one of the finest things.
For a change. Yeah.
But it shows, like, as you're right about sort of judging, it's really, really hard to be totally objective and impartial all the way through. Because I find myself reading some and a part of me thinking, I quite like this, but I've heard something like this before. And then I realise, well, it's only because I've just read a load of stories about the same subject, like
Halloween
just now,
stories.
So to totally reset your mind at the beginning of every story and be objective is really, really tough.
And give it the same concentration as you have for all the others.
Yeah.
It's quite difficult as well.
Yeah.
There was somewhere I was sort of drifting and I was like, no, come on, John. Back to the beginning. Yeah. You drifted.
Yeah, if I couldn't get past the first 2 paragraphs, I'd just stop reading. That's what they did.
Well, I think there's some truth in that, definitely.
So like Dave made a list of countries. Do you know what I made a list of?
What's that?
Things that hit the floor with a thud.
Oh, nice.
Oh.
Nice.
So we had a monster, tongue, phone, a heart, a box of trap souls, a scary doll, doors, Hitler, a pumpkin, another pumpkin, a crystal dildo, a girl's disembodied head, a door handle, a broomstick, an unspecified it on the other side of a wall, a left big toe, a shovel, a framed photo of the lady of the manor, a lollipop, and a penis.
An actual penis.
A penis.
Do you think a lot of people started with the thing that hit the floor with a thud? Because some of them felt like that.
Quite a few did, yeah. Yeah, I kind of get that because it's nice to get it out of the way so you don't have to worry about it almost, isn't it? So you don't get to the end and you're not fitted it in somewhere.
Yeah.
But can we give a special mention to Autumn Baker, who also got in the phrase a VW Beetle filled with pink custard,
yes.
which I thought was that was our silly thing at the start of the episode.
That was nice.
I thought that was a nice little touch.
It was a nice touch, especially because I thought they just got it right. and then the other phrase came up, and I was like, okay, yeah, you did get it.
Words from that episode.
That got a little salute from me. That did.
Yeah, it did.
But
definitely.
We can't just keep waiting on. I can't. It's like
No.
Christmas. It's like, come on.
Let's move on.
Well, yeah, so
Let's
we
get
come
to
to
it.
the good bit, which is the fact that ultimately we weren't in total control of the winner, which I think is a really good thing. I think the fact that we had an
I agree.
expert to step in at the end and sweep up the pieces.
Absolutely, because I think we would have been arguing, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I
you're
think
right.
it would have been quite a heated debate, wouldn't it? if we
Yeah.
had to-
So it's good that there's an impartial expert stepping in to pass final
to
judgment.
put us out of our
It is.
misery,
Yeah.
hopefully.
Like the court of, the Supreme
Yeah.
Court.
Shut up, Dave! Can we just talk to him and find out?
I'm building him up.
Stop it!
This is the Zeus.
Yeah.
No, just right. Let's get
Just open
Tim.
the door. Just open the door, Tom. Let him in. Shut Dave up.
I'm trying. Stuck. I don't know why this isn't. Is it the? I don't know if I've got the right key. Is that the
Don't
right
you have
key?
to twist. I think you have to twist that bit to the left.
Just-
Don't
Just
you?
Stuck.
pull that bit.
That's probably stuck.
That bit.
You need
Just
to push that bit there.
just pull it.
Tom, and then just pull that bit there. God, I knew this.
Is
would
that the
happen.
wrong? That's in the wrong one, isn't it? That should be over.
Are you sure?
That should
Are
be
you
the
sure
other
that's
one.
the right key?
Maybe it's just expanded because of the weather. The moisture makes the wood swell, and then it
Tom,
won't.
mate, do you want me to have a little go?
No, it's fine. It's just because of
Who
the.
imagined this door anyway? Was it you, Barry?
It was you that imagined it, John. So
Why do we need to have so many locks on an imaginary door?
failing writers couldn't even think the way past an imaginary door. Hey, typical. It's on brand. It's on brand, if nothing else. Oh, hold on. It's already open. It's just his handle here.
Yeah,
Right. Well done.
Yeah.
Look who it is.
Tim.
Welcome, Tim. Welcome.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me back.
Oh, we are beside ourselves with just wanting to know what. Just tell us who won. Tell us who won.
All right, I'll tell you who won. The winner was...
Are you going to do like a long reveal thing like they do on the Bake Off?
I am going to do a bit of a reveal because I think we owe it to these people who've submitted these amazing stories.
Yeah, and we should say actually, when we first talked to you about it, and we're saying, well, yeah, we'll whittle it down. We'll probably send you like 7 or 8, 9, 10 maximum. And then I had to send you that email on like Saturday or whatever, saying, sorry, Tim, there's like 19. We can't get it down anymore. We're kind of stuck. They're all quite
I
good.
know, and they were all really, really good. I mean, genuinely, really, really impressed by them and by the standard and the variety and the ways people have approached it. So yeah, thanks for giving me a really hard job.
You're very welcome.
I feel like I'm massively under pressure here because normally when you're judging these things, you're not doing it live as I am with you guys, and you guys genuinely don't know what my order is going to be, and I don't know what you were thinking or which ones you picked out. So what I'm really hoping is that when we get to the winner, you guys aren't going to go, oh God, no,
Bloody hell!
Boo, boo.
Not
That one.
Oh God!
yeah, the judge's decision is final. So
This is when Tim listens back to the podcast next week and he goes, the winner is, then it's just one of us going, this one.
yes, yeah.
As we
really bad edit.
changed it
Yes.
into something else. So where do you want to start, Tim? Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, as I say, there was so many, and I think it's important saying these were all judged anonymously.
Yes.
By which I mean, it was me judging them. But
Yeah, we know who you are.
yes, sorry, I wandered in. We don't know who wrote these stories. I think that's always really important with stories.
Yeah.
Just give everyone a fair crack of the whip, because even though there's a large community of people writing flash fiction, you do see the same people popping up here, there, and have some who are mates and some fairly well, some you don't know at all. So it's very important, I think, that's taken away from you and you're judging them blind. Which is
Yes.
good.
I can't wait for Tim to announce the winner of someone he absolutely hates.
Yes.
His flash fiction nemesis. You're like,
Well,
no!
Not them.
No, I'm very happy with my choices, and I say very
Super.
impressed with the standard. So without further ado,
Yes.
as they say, I think I just wanted to do a couple of what you might call commendations first, just to say two who didn't make the top 3, but stories that I thought were really, really well done, really nice, absolutely grotesque, gruesome, lots of blood and gore, amputated talking body parts, really scary.
Yeah.
And those 2 stories were, firstly, a story called Tongue
Yes.
Yeah, good.
and Put in Pieces.
Grizzly.
Emil Cholich, Put in Pieces.
Ah,
and,
yes.
Tim
Yes.
Clayton for
That's the
Tongue.
one. That
Yeah.
was one of on my little shortlist.
Nice one, Emil. And Tim,
Well done.
congratulations.
Yep.
Yeah, well done.
Highly commended.
Great. So those were commendations.
Brilliant.
Now we're moving on to the
Oh,
3,
here
2,
we
1.
go.
Yes.
All right.
Go.
So, oh dear, this is pressure's on me. This is like
Yeah, we appreciate
so
you are
excited.
under quite a lot of
life
pressure,
in their
Tim.
hands,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
In third place, a girl takes the train home at night.
Oh, that was
Oh.
Casper.
Yeah. Casper Rasmussen.
And this is what is known in the trade as a breathless flash. And if you don't know what a breathless flash is, it's
No full stops.
exactly. So it's
Yeah.
there are no full stops in this one. And it's all one long sentence.
Oh my
That's
God!
right,
Do you know
yeah.
what? I didn't realise that when I read
Yeah,
it.
it took me, to be honest, I think it was only on the second or third reading. I mean, I read these.
That
several
means
times.
it's
Yeah.
done very well, doesn't it? Because
Yeah,
that's,
yeah. So it was all
Yeah.
one sentence.
It
which was-
really grabbed my attention,
Wow.
that whole no full stops thing.
So from a craft point of view, this was really, really good. It's a really powerful story. And that the fact it's all in one sentence really helps the pace, the
Yeah.
movement, which mirrors the movement of the train, which is in the story. It's all one long scene. It's almost like one shot, in a short film.
yeah, that's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
So that it's all moving along, and I was definitely on the train with the main character here, rooting for her. There's a fair few social and gender issues, topical ones that are neatly weaved in.
Yeah.
The suspense was excellent. The sense of foreboding and menace and threat. Yeah, there was a twist at the end, and as I said when we spoke before, I'm not normally won over by twists in stories. I can feel like you've been a bit cheated as a reader. But I think in a Halloween story, I think that's permissible. I think horror is largely about surprise.
Yeah, it needs a shock of some sort, doesn't it?
The shock. So yeah, and you were rooting for the character, so it was good to see a kind of turn the tables, if I haven't given it away too much. It's an excellent story. So yeah. Third place, a girl takes the train home at night.
Brilliant. Well done,
Very
Casper.
good.
Brilliant. Okay. Oh, pressure's on now. Second place. Second place. I have gone for Halloween Babies.
Right, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that one.
The baby.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was weird, wasn't it? Like in a really good way.
Yeah, this was such a simple idea, but so well handled. I think it builds really well. It's really well written, terrific, visceral, literally. I mean, you want to look away from some of the descriptions, but there's humor as well about the confusion between, again, I don't want to give too much away. I think you should really read this, but about what you're talking about and what you think is being spoken about. Again, it's kind of a twist, but it earns the twist. The twist is gradually revealed as the story goes along.
Yeah.
And frankly, you needed the twist because if it had actually been about babies, I love this story. Halloween Babies, second place.
So that was
choice.
Terry Mulholland who sent that
Well
one.
done, Terry.
Very, very good.
Yeah.
And in first place, I think I said to you when I first got these, I was really struggling to sort of separate a few of the top ones.
Yeah.
But the more I read them, the more one of them kind of, like the cream floated to the top, and it's this one. And this is such a special one, and it feels so confident. I think sometimes with stories, it's a bit like getting into an Uber, or, and you sort of sit there and you think, what kind of a driver have I got here? And very early on in the story and in the drive that you're in safe hands. You've got this. There's a confidence to the driver. You get the sense that they're going to take you to your destination safely. That this is someone who really knows what they're doing, and that's the sense I got from this story. And it is, and this is where I'm going to make a complete fool of myself trying to pronounce it. And I did my research on this, so I'm hoping not to offend anyone here, but the title is Samhain in Salem.
Right.
Oh, yes, first Samhain in Salem.
John, that was one of your favourites, wasn't it?
I loved that one.
That is Craig Margolis who sent that one in, who wrote that one. So congratulations, Craig.
Well done, Craig.
Well done, Craig.
Well done.
£100 will be winging its way towards you.
Yeah, it's got a real sense of time and place, and it's got a real sort of unfamiliarity about it that appealed to me, I think.
Really has. I think it's just brilliant. It's got two great characters, wonderful dialogue and atmosphere. It's beautifully paced and written. It's a great setting, as you said, John. I think it's, from what I can read of it, it's Irish immigrants in colonial America.
I've always been fascinated with that period as well.
Yeah.
The Puritans and the freelance landowners and Roanoke and all that kind of stuff, and their relationship with the native people.
Yeah, and it's like a suggestion. There's a suggestion of magic, and yet everything that's happening in it is plausible too. And you come out of the story not sure whether anything supernatural has actually happened, even though the whole atmosphere is weird. If you actually break the story down, it's actually such a simple story. Very little has actually happened. I mean, what happens? A boy carves a turnip for Halloween for his grandmother. That's all that happens. And yet you come out of it thinking, you've been dragged through this kind of this mill, and that's all down to the writing and the characters and the dialogue, the atmosphere. There's no whiz bang plot, and I think that's just.
And there's no whiz bang writing either, if you know what I mean. It's just very simply written. It's kind of stripped back. It's just very beautiful and charming.
Can I ask Tim?
Some great lines in it as well. Yeah.
Can I ask Tim? Are you sure that at no point in your judgment there was the fact that that we've promised to perform this with all the Irish written dialogue in this that you didn't think actually this would just be really funny to hear the boys try and actually produce this one?
Yeah, to hear the lads' cod Irish accent, brilliant.
Do you not all have the Irish accent on your show reels, boys?
Funnily enough, no.
But we might do by this time next week.
Time to start studying.
Voice for this, aren't you? So, no, it's such a brilliant story. I don't know Craig, but well done, Craig. Because I was really, really impressed with this one.
Oh, great. I'm really pleased you picked that one.
Yeah, that was one of yours, wasn't it, John? That was,
Do you know what, as well, that with that story, it really left me wanting to know more about it as well. I think you were talking about, you kind of, when you're reading a story, or particularly short fiction, you want to feel like you just sort of come in at a moment and then you leave wanting to sort of, or believing that the characters continue on their way.
That's right.
And I wanted to know more about that story. I wanted to know more about their journey there, and I think that's when you're reading something good.
Very much so.
I just want more.
And in this one, it was voice, it was character, it was dialogue, it was setting, and it was just such a confident piece that doesn't demand to be. It's not desperate to be liked. It just washes over you and leaves you with a definite sense that you've experienced something powerful. Like every good story should.
Yeah, definitely.
Congratulations again, Craig Margolis.
Well done, Craig.
Thoroughly well deserved, and we've all
yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah, great.
Tim, we shall let you go.
Thank you so much for your help.
No, guys, thank you so much. I really enjoyed it. I'm really honoured to be asked.
Thank you, and we shall speak to you
Thanks,
soon.
Tim.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, Tim.
Bye.
Bye.
So there we go. Now we know who has actually won the inaugural Halloween Flash Fiction Contest.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah, you probably want to hear it now, though, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
This was a massive production.
Oh yeah, I mean, forget your Broadway and West End stuff. This is where it's at. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the prize money was only £100, right? But we put the rest of the budget into the production.
I've remortgaged my house to pay for this.
Yeah, we pulled out the big guns.
Yeah.
And here it is. First Samhain in Salem by Craig D. Margolis.
Ain't no stingy Jack, Mammo.
The boy looked out of a window into the twilight, not half so sure as he sounded.
Don't tell tales.
Firm as me flesh and twice as ugly.
His grandmother cackled, her face creases parted to the purpose.
Besides, what's a mammo for but to spin yarns?
A tangle sat in her lap, long threads woven together. Puffs on her pipe occasionally punctuated the clicks of her needles. A chunk of coal smouldered where tobacco ought to have been. Connor picked at supper, potato chunks bobbing in hot milk. No blight here.
Tain't good enough for you.
Not hungry.
Save the stuff for your sister then. Maeve will be back ere long.
He knew better than to offer Mammo any. She wasn't much of an eater. Maeve was apprenticed to a seamstress, sewing finery for Salem sweethearts. Connor to a cooper, bending staves for sea barrels. They counted themselves lucky. Most off the boats had nothing. Position, provision, nor even place to sleep. Still, the boy missed Ma and Da and the rest of the clan. there hadn't been enough coin to bring them all to this new world. That day, Connor ducked out early, claiming a stomachache, the true cause to prepare for the night. He'd be back all the more early tomorrow. All Hallows it would be, though Connor didn't think Salem folks cared overmuch. Congregationalists, not a sort for saints. He had borrowed a knife from the workshop and filched a turnip from a vegetable cart. A big, purplish fellow that barely fit under his shirt. Connor was an honest lad, not given to thieving, but for this once. 'Twas Samhain, and his mammo would have a lantern.
Keep off the spirits, son.
She said.
Leastways the wrong sort. A wild land, this. Once were witches about. Maybe still, especially tonight. Not worth taking chances.
How she knew, Mammo didn't say. With whom or what she communed, a mystery. Connor's gut did churn, jittery from thinking on devils, and he would have just as soon not whittled. Mammo set him to rights.
You feel poorly now? Wait till Jack takes a hold of your nose. Twist it half he will. Wear about his neck like pearls with others he grabs from them's two without lanterns.
The image was enough to get him going. While Connor carved, Mammo chattered. Of fairies, sprites, even a banshee's keening she claimed to have heard when a girl back in Kerry.
Oh, frightful it were. Peeled the skins off the taters just by the screech of it.
Mammo's comforter grew long in her clacking. It was Connor's first lantern alone, and he found hollowing hardest. The dull blade slipped from turnip skin to his own. He jerked, and the half-empty thing flew. It hit the floor with a thud.
God damn it!
Swore the boy as he wiped his trousers red.
Stop your gob.
Mammo cried. His was no curse for Halloween.
Have it here.
Connor's hand oozed, until with a mutter and a kiss, she dried the drops.
Now get on with it ere we lose the light.
He finished its rude features. Round eyes, square mouth. Its nose a jagged tear like that he made in his palm. Connor shared his handiwork with Mammo.
Well worth this. As good as any I seen. Now, let's have it lit.
Connor deflated.
Mammo, I forgot. I'm not to light it.
You ha' me, dearie.
With her bare hand, Mammo plucked the ember from her pipe and dropped it into Turnip's belly. It gave the garret the glow of a faraway isle.
Now you can nod off, love. I'll watch for Jack or other nasties.
Mammo wrapped him in her knitting, armour against wandering souls bent on mischief. Maeve returned after midnight to find her brother sound asleep, nose intact. He was bare but for the clothes on his back, attic empty save for a cup of cold soup and a turnip bright with burning coal.
Well, what a production that was.
It did sound nice, actually.
It did sound
You did a
really good,
lovely
didn't it?
job there, Dave. Lovely job.
You did. You really caught the atmosphere as much as Craig did in the words. You really
Came
brought it
across,
out.
didn't it? Yeah, and I would just like to say a massive thank you to Emma Clark as well,
Yeah,
who
cheers,
provided
Emma.
the voice of the old Irish lady.
Yeah, that was
yes.
excellent.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Brilliant stuff. So without further ado, we should let's have a chat with Craig and find out where on earth he got this crazy idea from, and let him know that he's won.
Yes.
All right, well, give him a call. Have you got his number there, Tom?
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's overseas. He's in Washington D.C. So
Right, so that's like +1.
There's a lot of
and
numbers.
then-
Well, don't read out
yeah.
his number,
That
Dave.
is a lot of numbers.
All right,
yeah,
well, just put him in.
There we go. Right. It's ringing.
I can't wait to speak to him.
Oh, God, it's so exciting.
Hello,
Good morning, White House.
Oh.
How may I direct your call?
Right. So, did you say the White House?
Yes, sir. This is the White House. Can I
Right.
help?
Yes. No. This is Tom from the Failing Writers podcast. I think I might have got the wrong number. But actually, while you're on, is Mr. Biden around just for a quick chat on the podcast, or?
Let me just check.
Thank you for calling the White House. All our presidents are busy at the moment. Please hold and we'll be back to you as...
No, the President of the United States of America is a little busy to talk to the Failing Writers
Fair
podcast.
enough.
Although he is a big fan of the show.
That's nice to know. I mean, we thought it was, but yeah, cool. Well, sorry for wrong number. So thank you.
Have a nice day.
Right, let's try that again.
Yeah,
this time. Try and get the right number.
Get the number. Do you know what? Why don't just zoom him?
Oh yeah,
It'd
good.
be easier.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Do that. Craig, congratulations. You are the overall winner of our Flash Fiction Halloween competition.
Oh my goodness, no. I mean, yes, that's the wrong answer.
Oh my God.
I mean, no.
Please,
that's
no.
Horrible. No, thank you. I mean, thank you so much. I mean, honestly, I don't want to embarrass myself with being overly effusive, but I can't tell you how happy that makes me. That's really terrific.
You're
Thank
very,
you so
very
much.
welcome.
Well, as you'll hear, we've just gone through with Tim the winning entries, and he absolutely loved your piece.
Oh, goodness gracious.
As did John. I mean, I thought it was rubbish, but those guys.
Well, I did too.
I
mean, to be fair,
those guys put it through. No, but you will hear what Tim says about it, and you might be slightly embarrassed because he really does the different layers of it and the quality of writing in it. And
yeah, that's going to be a nice thing to listen back to.
He really, really loved it. So a massively deserved winner.
Thank you.
So where did the idea come from, Craig?
Well, so I'm from a small town in Massachusetts, just north of Boston.
Yeah.
The town's called Marblehead, but it's right next to Salem. And Halloween has been my favorite holiday ever since I was a little kid. I mean, it's sort of it's like in the DNA of the whole place. You got Salem and the witch trials. You have just in Marblehead, the town. I mean, this is old for us. It's not old for you all, but town was founded in the 1600s. There's still houses from the 1600s and 1700s all over. And there's like a motion picture graveyard. It's like made for movies.
Cool.
With crooked headstones, with skulls and crossbones on them. And there's a pond named after a witch. Well, to be fair, a person who is accused of witchcraft.
An actual
Yes.
witch.
Yes, I don't know that she was an actual witch. I would suppose not. But she nonetheless, she was one of the victims of the witch hysteria.
Wow.
So the place just sort of calls out for stories. And when I saw your contest, I mean, flash fiction, it's a really challenging way to write, but it's a really interesting way to write. And I was trying to think through how could I try to capture a little bit of the sense of the places where I grew up and spent my time as a kid.
Cool. Just to go back for a second, did I get that right? Did you say that it's a pond that's named after a witch?
Yes.
So
Red's Pond.
I imagine
REDD''S pond.
that must be a kick in the teeth to get drowned somewhere and then for it to be named after you afterwards is a little.
I mean,
it's like rub salt in the wounds, isn't it? Really.
I think you English, drowned your witches. Unfortunately, in Salem, they hung them. So.
Oh well, there we go.
Oh, right.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
That's.
Yeah.
I would say that's better, but it's probably not really, is it?
Probably not. No. Wilmot Red was her name.
Right.
So where did you get the inspiration for the angle on the story? Where did that come? Where did it actually come from? Where was the seed sown?
Yeah, so this is actually the second story that I wrote for you all, and I didn't submit the first one. And it's because I thought the first one might almost be too much inside, baseball, as it were, for people, Salem geeks. It had Nathaniel Hawthorne in it, and I just didn't know if people were going to get it, candidly. So, but I took the kernel of an idea that had to do with what would Halloween have been like when it was first brought to the States.
Yeah.
It didn't. It's not this sort of sickly sweet confection we have today, at least as I imagine it. Obviously, I'm not that old. I wasn't around then.
It didn't arrive with popping candy.
No, I don't think so.
Attached to it, probably.
No, I don't think they had the skeletons with the glowing eyes. So, but I looked into it a little bit, and the folks who brought it here were believed to be folks who were fleeing the famine from Ireland, right in the 1840s, 1850s, thereabouts. And so, the title I came up with is a little bit of a play on it. So I don't know if it's just the character's very first Halloween in Salem, or is it the very first Halloween in Salem? But it's the idea of a kid who came here from the famine, probably with nothing, experiencing his first Halloween which would have been, I would imagine, a much more frightening and real proposition to them than it is to us today.
Yeah.
Probably slightly less commercialized, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
I don't think you can go buy bags of candy. I don't think there.
Yeah.
I think there probably was no candy.
Yeah, probably less kinky leather as well,
Yeah,
I imagine.
Yeah, so no Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah, fewer TV specials all round. I probably.
Yeah, no Peanuts, no Great Pumpkin. So it was pretty harsh.
Sounds pretty rubbish, to be honest. I'm not sure how it caught on.
Yeah, I think it was just a scary thing. I don't think it was a happy thing. Right, so I was trying to capture, what can you do in 600 words? But I was trying to capture, if I could, a little bit of a feel for that.
You definitely captured a lot of atmosphere in it. You really did catch. But one of my favorite bit out of it, probably especially in terms of flash fiction, was so you've just described there about them coming from Ireland and kind of all the travels over, and you managed to sum the entire period of that history up by just commenting on the state of the potatoes in the bowl.
Yeah, no blight here.
That was such a nice touch. Really nice.
Thank you. I mean, everybody tells you about don't be on the nose and show, don't tell. But so, how do you? I was thinking, how do I capture that and try to capture that feel?
But it was so it was so tight. I think that's why it works and you get away with it if you like.
Yeah, you placed it very quickly.
There wasn't any extra, was there? It wasn't like no blight here. Not like back in the homeland where we've run out of potatoes and it's quite terrible and there's a bit of a famine and actually it's rubbish. Do you know what I mean? It just leaves you to, and it just kind of left it hanging and moved straight on to the next. It's just, really nice. There was some lovely touches in it. Lovely touches.
I absolutely loved it, Craig. It stood out for me for lots of reasons, but partly it was just so different. To be fair, from the others,
John, thank you.
It was like surprisingly sort of small and simple and tender. It just felt like there was. Whilst being very small, it felt like there was so much foundation kind of built up underneath the characters, like they had lives of their own. And I just thought it was great.
When I heard your line, your prompt, it hit the floor with a thud. I'm sure there were all kinds of heads hitting the floor with a thud, or knives, or axes, and so I made mine a turnip.
Yeah, it was great. But the story just leaves you wanting to know more about the characters, I think, and I think that's the trick of it. You wanted to know more about their lives back in Ireland, and you wanted to know more about Mamo and and her supernatural side, if it is indeed, supernatural. And it almost felt like it could be like an extract from a novel or something. I actually think you should write it. You should give up the day job, Craig.
Give up the day job?
Give up the day job and write the bloody book.
Yeah, well, you've got £100 coming.
Yeah. Exactly.
So that'll do it, won't it?
Right? They'll take care of it. What did you? So I don't know if I'm allowed to ask questions, but did you think Mamo? Did you think she's a real person? Is she a figment of imagination? Is she a ghost?
Well, then, man, didn't even get that far. No, we just assumed she was real.
Hang on a minute.
I love the fact that you really don't know, and that you maybe suspect. So I have suspicions, but what's really nice is that I don't know for certain what Mamo is, whether she's a character from back home that he remembers and is kind of in his imagination, or whether she is actually, because she clearly sort of communes with the supernatural world and knows a lot about it. So maybe there's something else going on there. I don't know, but I like the fact that there's no obvious answer. That was an answer, by the way. Has anyone else got any other?
Do you know what? I hadn't thought about it, but now I'm thinking, hang on, if there wasn't enough money for Mum and Dad to come,
why would you send Gran?
How is Grandma?
Bloody hell! I've not felt like this since I watched The Sixth Sense.
Exactly. There was a little breadcrumb in there. There was a little breadcrumb in there.
Do you know what? I blame missing that on the fact that we'd read a couple of hundred stories by that point. So I'll allow myself missing that little breadcrumb.
Yeah, that's fair.
Oh yeah! Wow. See, he's got even more layers than I thought.
Yeah.
So nobody was there. They were still in Ireland, just dreaming about moving.
It was all a dream.
I'll say the Maeve and Connor at least.
Right.
I'll give him that much.
Crikey.
Craig, how long have you been writing?
I mean, it depends on what kind of writing. I do a lot of writing in my job, but it's not the same. Not close.
Yeah.
So fiction is fairly recent. The creative writing. almost a little embarrassed a bit, but this is the Failing Writers Podcast. Yeah, I did write a novel. You can't see my air quotes right on the air, but I did write a novel, which I think you all would charitably call rubbish. But I did send it around to a few potential prospective agents and got a little bit of feedback. And as I look back on it, it was a good exercise.
Yeah.
To try to learn how to do this. And that took me a few years, and that was probably 5 years ago. And then after I got this over the sting of, this isn't going to go anywhere, I started again. And I've got another project that I'm working on now, but
and then people keep doing these bloody competitions and interrupting.
Well, but it's great though, right? It's so different. I mean, when I listened to your podcast announcing the contest and listened to Tim, I believe it was Tim who was talking about how it's more like poetry than it is prose.
Yeah.
And you only have however many words are allotted. So every word you add means it's another word you have to subtract, and word choice becomes hugely important. And so it was a really fun thing to do, and still took quite a bit of time because I must have been over it. I don't even know how many times before I actually hit the send button. But it was a really fun thing to write.
You finished on 663 words, Craig.
Yes.
What happened there?
You know why?
Did you?
Well, it's because I was too worried about the word count.
Oh, I see. You thought you'd give yourself a little bit of margin for error.
Right. Every time I saw 666, I was like, all right, no, this is going to be some problem. You guys are going to end up counting the title or something, and I'll get disqualified. So it ended up being just short.
Yeah, because originally, I think your first draft had Mammo's not real with the last three words. I'll just take those out because that's too obvious.
What's the fun of that? And I think Tim said, don't have a big reveal at the end. Don't have
exactly.
Don't do that. So
Yeah, well done on deleting.
And I didn't have Connor die. I didn't stab him with a hatchet or anything like that. So.
That's all the sequel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I should probably tell you, Craig, that just another thing that Tim said. I mean, you'll get to listen to this. You'll be able to listen to this as many times as you like, which is the wonderful thing about the podcast for you. But one of the things he said is that you just felt that you were in safe hands reading it. You sort of knew from the first couple of sentences that this is a writer with a very sort of deft handling of language. It had the confidence of someone who knows that they can keep your attention without being flashy with words, without sort of major fireworks. And I think that's absolutely right.
That is so kind. I really do appreciate that. I mean, it's dialogue for me in particular, and I don't know how you all feel. It's the hardest to try to convey and make it sound at least somewhat realistic. And here I was trying to play a little bit with an accent. And the way I imagine these folks would have been speaking back then, but
do you know some Irish people? Is that any of that kind of, was that just sort of from your head from watching films and?
It's mostly like from my head. Now I'm a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. I was a kid from Boston, right? It's like the most Irish city in the U.S.
Yeah, of course.
So I mean, there's Irish everywhere, but mostly it's American Irish, right? And I certainly know some folks who are actual Irish, but I only listening to them speak or watching TV and movies.
Yeah, it was nice because you got a sense of time from it as well. It sounded like older words, if you know what I mean. It sounded like it was set in an older time. You kind of gave yourself quite a hard task in a way, but in some ways that's the challenge, isn't it, of writing these things? It's quite nice to give yourself a challenge.
Yeah, and I like historical fiction, so I like to read it. And the other project that I'm working on, it's not as old, set as far back as that, but it's still set in the past. So it's as I'm talking about Salem and Marblehead, the places where I'm from. I mean, they feel old to us here. So trying to convey a little bit of that sense is part of the challenge, and I think it's part of what makes it fun.
Well, it sounded authentic, even if it wasn't. So you got away with it.
So what are you going to do with your newfound riches, Craig?
Can I say go on a bender? No, I'm not. More like
hell yeah,
quite a small bender.
But more likely. I mean, I want to do something writing related with it. So sometimes some of the contests over here, maybe probably over there too, have entry fees associated with it. Maybe they'll but
some of the lesser competitions
Exactly.
you've got to pay to get. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
It's
We've noticed
pay to
that.
play.
Yeah.
I don't know, dubious. But I want. This is something that I just as I said, I think before we started to record, I aspire to be a failing writer. So I would like at some point to. We'll see where this goes, right? But it's something. It's right now. It's obviously a hobby, but I don't know what the future will hold.
Yeah, God forbid this is the peak.
So, right.
Because if it is, Craig, then...
Well, hey, I won something. So,
It's something. It is something.
There you
it
go.
Something.
And this isn't, having the three of you and Tim read my little story and liking it that's a pretty big reward. So I'm very, very pleased.
Well, congratulations again, Craig. Your work was very much enjoyed, and it was very well earned.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for entering, and keep up the writing. And happy Halloween.
And happy Halloween to you all.
Cheers,
Take care.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Bye. So, well done, Craig D. Margolis. What a lovely guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, really interesting talking to him, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's nice the winner's a nice guy. Do you know what I mean? If he was a bit of an idiot, it'd be a real shame.
Yeah, that would have been awful.
I wonder what the D stands
terrible
for
human being.
in his middle name.
Oh, well, good question to ask us. We literally just said goodbye to it. We probably could have found that out quite easily.
Yeah, the one person who actually knows the answer to that question.
Yeah. I've always wanted to meet someone whose middle name is actually Danger.
Maybe you just did.
That'd be kind of cool.
Or maybe it's one of those. Remember we talked before about people putting initials into their names because it makes them sound better.
It's worked, hasn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's won him the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that, oh my God. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, well done. Well played, Craig.
Nice move.
Well done.
Very nice move.
Cunning man.
Yeah, and we wish him well with his future writing career.
Absolutely. But all in all, I think we can probably say that our very first No, we can't say that.
We can't say it, Dave.
We literally can't say it.
We literally can't say it. I think we probably can't.
But instead, we could say that our very first flash fiction competition has been a raging success.
Yeah, I think so. Some brilliant entries. I feel a bit bad that there's so many entries that deserve a mention, and we'll put some of the stories up on our blog and what have you.
Yeah. Put our favourites up.
I think so.
Commended people, and definitely. But I like Craig's story and everything, and very good, Craig. Yeah, it was really good. But there's a couple that I feel got missed out. Do you mean you have your own little pet favourite, don't you? And I was kind of when you sent him through, and I was kind of I hope Tim likes that one as well. And it's great what he's picked and the reasons behind it and everything, but you do kind of have a little attachment to it. Did you have one? Because I know that was one of your favourites, wasn't it, John?
It was, he was right up there, so that was, I'll take that.
Did you have one, Dave, that you got attached to?
I did, actually, yeah. I did. So maybe, why don't we do, if you go to failingwriterspodcast.com/blog, perhaps we could put our own little favourites on there, just as some little extras.
Do you know what, Dave, me and you should actually, why don't we just whack them on the end of the podcast as like a little appendicize?
Yeah, that's nice.
Story.
All right, okay. A little bonus.
Yeah, so if you hold on after the end, me and Dave will read out our little favourite ones.
Oh, it'd be like one of those albums from the 90s where you listen to it.
And there's like 5 minutes of silence.
And suddenly another song comes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it like that.
So there's a secret. It's not really a secret track now, is it? Hidden. Not. Bit at the end.
No, kind of giving it away.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, that's that done and dusted then. No more talk of the competition ever, please. Thank you.
Let's never mention this ever again.
All done. Onwards to the next week. Next week is Kate Fox.
Fox is back.
Yes.
Talking about our poetry.
So now that we have judged other people, it's time for us to be judged once more.
Yes.
Next week, isn't it?
So Kate is going to give us a honest appraisal of our so-called poetry.
A brutally honest appraisal, you could say. But
so that's not to be missed. And then we've got quite a good few interviews coming up after that. We've just interviewed Andy Stanton, one of John's all-time literary heroes, who writes the Mr. Gunn books, amongst other things. And that was good.
It was very good.
Yeah.
Lots of good insights, actually.
We've got Tim Glister coming up the week after as well, brand new author, we mentioned before at the start of this podcast.
Yep, spy thing.
Yeah, we've got loads of stuff.
Yeah.
Loads of stuff.
And NaNoWriMo starts tomorrow as well. So we've got so much to do. We really shouldn't stand about chatting. We should just get on with it.
And if you do want to join our group, do remember to email us at failingwriterspodcast@gmail.com, and we'll add you to our NaNoWriMo group.
Yes.
I've actually started to call it Nino Nano Rhino or whatever in my head now. I can't actually remember what.
I don't know what it's actually called. I have no idea.
NaNoWriMo, isn't it?
Yeah.
NaNoWriMo. There you go.
What about?
Romo no.
We can't end the podcast there. We've got to say something else, lads, because that was just nonsense, wasn't it? So, subscribe, send us a review.
Well,
get in
maybe
touch
do a
if you
little
want,
dance.
that kind of thing. And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
Have a happy Halloween, everybody.
Hello.
Hello.
Where's everybody gone?
Well, Dave, everyone's not gone, because I'm still here to tell you about my favourite entry for our Flash Fiction contest, which was The Watering Hole by Tamara Pitterlin. And I just really liked it. I liked the writing style. I liked the sort of the surface story of the twist at the end, but also the sort of the deeper story within of this woman's previous trauma and previous life, and these little hints, these little bursts of hints that we get all the way through, and how we change our perception of this woman as we go through. And well, I don't want to say too much, do I? It's best that you hear it for yourself and enjoy delving into the backstory and taking the hints yourself. So here is The Watering Hole by Tamara Pitterlin. She glanced at her reflection in the mirror behind the row of ornate bottles. The puffy, purplish semicircles under her eyes spoke volumes. For 12 hours straight, she combed, brushed, cut and coloured hair on a production line of heads. She'd spent a 20-minute lunch break huddled in the storeroom amongst mops and buckets, eating the cheese sandwiches she'd made the night before. She was paid minimum wage on a 0-hours contract. She'd never been one to complain. "Double vodka shot and a glass of house white," repeated the barman. On the wall behind him was mounted a rainbow trout. £8.50, please. Smiling apologetically, she felt around in her handbag for a purse. Her fingertips brushed against the smooth, cool steel of her hair scissors. She handed him £10. "Keep the change." Smiled again. Shooting back the neat vodka, she waited for the desired effect. The iron band clamped around her head began to mercifully loosen. Nursing her wine, pretending to look at her phone, she furtively cast her eye over the other patrons reflected in the mirrored wall. Tonight's watering hole was a mix of regulars and fresh prospects. One group were dressed as an assortment of vampires, ghosts and slutty witches, harmless Halloween revellers. She watched the men sneak glances at her from over the rim of their beer glasses. Watching the watchers, something wormed in her belly. The real monsters don't make themselves so easy to spot. Just after 10 p.m, the woman stood up, stumbled, her bag toppled. It hit the floor with a thud. The bar stool slipped and clattered, heads turned, judgments passed. The woman smiled shyly at her audience. Taking a moment to steady herself, she picked up a bag and headed for the door. Home was a 6-minute and 20-second walk away, on average. But anything can happen in 6 minutes, she thought. Last month, a woman had been stabbed to death in a nearby park. The newspapers had shrieked with contrived outrage before describing the graphic details in self-pleasuring and lurid minutiae. "Women are not safe on the streets," screeched the headlines. Turn to page 3 for an eyeful of today's buxom beauty. The wind caught the pub door, slamming it shut behind her. The bitter air of the cold October night nipped at her skin. Scanning the empty streets, the woman stepped onto the pavement. Her footsteps echoed in the frosty silence. She was less than 3 minutes from her front door when she heard a second echo of footsteps. Her amygdala fired, flooding her bloodstream with a cocktail of cortisol and adrenaline. Her pupils dilated and her heart hammered against the bars of her ribcage. Her limbic brain circled through the options: fight, flight, flee, freeze. The footsteps behind her grew louder. Just ahead was the corner of her street. If she could get around it before him, she could duck into the alleyway immediately to the left. She made it. Trembling all over, she hid in the narrow alleyway. He'd seen her. He smiled as they caught each other's eye. He was speaking to her, but her ears were filled with the sound of her pumping blood. He raised his arm towards her. Something in his hand glinted. She lunged forward and pushed her scissors deep into his spleen, under his left ribs. Like lovers in climax, they locked eyes, as shock, then confusion, then fear flashed across his face. In slow motion, her phone dropped from his hand, clattering on the pavement, shattering the smiling face on the screen. She inhaled his breath, his life force, just like she'd done with the woman in the park. She watched him slump to the ground, clutching at the hole in his side. Blood flowed over his fingers, soaking into the fabric of his trousers and spilling onto the pavement. His mouth gaped open and shut, like the ill-fated cod her slimy uncle had caught on that childhood fishing trip. Hook, line, and sinker.
Right, here's my favourite story. I don't know why I like this one so much. I think partly because it's so simple and it's really short as well. We had a 666-word limit and this one is 247. So it's really simple and it's to the point and it's by Lola Parks and it's called The Curse. Some sorts of terror seize your heartstrings and pull. You may have seen the gun's mouth, but that's nothing to the leviathan latent in my mind's mire. If you ask, friend, I'll unfold my fright. But once begun, you must listen to the end. This mark of terror bloomed on my skin when this and the next realm touch. Halloween night. When natural imitates supernatural, discerning the two turns nigh impossible. And so, when a sweet young cryptid joins me at the edge of the party, you'll forgive me a few words, a laugh, a drink. Magic hid in the curve of her smile, but I took it for mischief. I liked her. We'd made it to the porch when sonorous colours dulled to mute legato clouds rolling over the stars. She whispered with the scent of spirits on her tongue that she was cursed. I would give all my voice's notes to have believed her then and not have asked further. She was it. As she leaned into my ear, her flushed breath warmed my cheeks, but chilled my bones. The only way to lift the curse was to pass it on, by explaining how you got it. Her story stuck in my ears like cotton, as this one does. The words sunk me in treacle, as these ones do. She cut my brain's puppeteer strings and my body flopped. It hit the floor with a thud, as your one does. I'm sorry, friend. You're it.